Welcome to the Good Talk Podcast, where we remind you of the joy of life, the love of God, and the possibilities that lie ahead. Pete and Jordyn here. Mm-hmm. It's allergy season.
It's bad, y'all.
So we apologize for all the...
Oh, that sounds so gross.
I know, but it's going to happen.
If we get through this without sneezing.
And if you're watching on YouTube, you're just going to have to watch us wipe our nose with our hands because we don't have any Kleenexes here on the set. Sorry,
oh my
friends.
Gosh, you're welcome.
Yeah. Hey, this is episode 27, and it's called Against All Odds.
This is a fun one.
I'm so excited about this.
How would you describe this, though? Like, if PG-13?
PG-13, yeah, because we are talking about some things that you just may not want to have to answer some questions for your kids, because there's a little biology, if you will, involved.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Is that a good word?
Yeah.
So maybe...
Nothing bad, just, again...
Yeah, if you're in the car with your kids, you just might be like, yeah, I don't know, I want to... Have we piqued your interest, though?
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, it's crazy.
It'll be fun. This is a funny one.
Yeah, and hey, we got to remind you guys about our 30 Days of Good journal experience that we just released last week.
Yep, last week. So it's that free 30-day. It's a journal, has some inspiration, a place for you to answer some questions that you're prompted, and then how to kind of journal your gratitude that we are such proponents of. And it's 30 days long. It's free. The only thing you have to do to get it is to leave us an iTunes review, rate and review. Like you click the little stars and then also write a review for us. And then you just take a picture of it and send it to our email, or you can send it to us on social. Some of you have done that. But it's info@theplaceforgood.com. And just shoot us an email, take a screenshot, whatever you want. A lot of you did that last week, so thank you so much. That was awesome. And a lot of you are working already through your 30 days of good, so we're super excited to resource you guys with that. But that is an evergreen thing. Like if you're listening to this in 2 months and this is still an offer. So send us your reviews and we'll send that to you.
It's fun. I love hearing the stories of people going through it.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It was a good little resource.
Hey, we had a fun weekend this past weekend.
We did. My parents were in town.
Yes, we love it when they're in town.
Yeah, no, it was fun. We kind of did they hadn't been up since I've been pregnant. I always kind of go down to Georgia. And I promise also that we're not going to constantly just talk about me being pregnant, but this is kind of all consuming in our household right now.
Big deal.
It's a big deal. But yeah, so they came up and we did the nursery thing. We started decorating the nursery, and then we went to this place in Nashville. And it's kind of like a private ultrasound place. So it's not through my doctor right now with COVID. I can only bring Pete, and that's pretty normal.
Those are the only appointments I can go to.
Just the ultrasounds. Yeah. Yep. So it was super affordable to do this. So we went and did this little private thing, and there's a couch, and my parents got to come
really cool.
and
show it on a big screen.
On a big screen. Really cool. And so we actually got to see in 3D what she looks like, which is just
was it 3D or 4D? I saw something about 4D.
It's 4D because you can hear the heartbeat.
Okay.
But I got so many amazing little ultrasounds. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to come up to the camera. It is the cutest thing in the world.
Oh, you're literally going to take it up there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Look at that. It's a picture of Pepper.
So crazy. It's
I just said Pepper.
Wild.
Can I explain the Pepper thing?
Oh,
because I just said pictures of Pepper. That's not probably her name.
We don't know yet.
But when we first found out that Jordyn was pregnant, there was this app that tells you every week, updates, this week, your child's the size of an onion. But the very first week, she was the size of
it was at the 4-week mark when you kind of take the test and all that.
A peppercorn.
A peppercorn.
You have a pepper. This is like show and tell for you today. You have a peppercorn.
I almost dropped a peppercorn.
That's a peppercorn.
It's tiny, like what you put in a pepper grinder, which is kind of morbid now that I'm thinking about that.
That was the size.
Tiny, just like a little peppercorn, poppy seed.
So as a nickname, I just started calling her Pepper, and that took off with you. So whenever we're talking about the baby, to make it, instead of just calling it baby
or it,
we call it Pepper. But now over time, I like the name. I like the name a lot. I kind of want that to be her name.
You're not alone. A lot of people are
campaigning, but you not so much. So we have no idea what her name's going to be.
It might end up being Pepper. I don't know.
It
is Pepper to us so much because that's all we call her. So, but
her nickname forever,
regardless, will be Pepper. Yeah.
I love it.
It's crazy.
So 3D or 4D? What was it? Did you answer that?
It's technically 4D because you
Okay.
can hear it.
I mean, crazy, you guys. We could see, like, she's at the size now. You can see her, like, obviously her head and her little arms. We could see her feet.
Brain,
She
her
keeps
heart.
wanting to stick her daggum feet up behind her head.
I
And
know.
she's like Miss Little Flexible. And I don't know. I'm watching that, Jordyn, and I'm just blown away. And this is what gave me the whole inspiration, what I want to talk about today, Against All Odds.
Yeah.
Because, like, I think we all know how we got here, right? I mean, ultimately, your parents had sex, period. Like, that's how we got here.
Yeah.
And our beginnings, all of us, right, are pretty much the same. Your mom and dad got together, and somewhere in the course of that encounter, your father made his, we'll call it, contribution.
Okay.
Right? That's what happened. And for most of us, that's kind of the end of our understanding, right? Like, that's kind of like all we know. Yeah, that's how it happens. But I don't know what it is. I don't know. I have 3 boys. I've been through this process. I had my 3 boys when I was really young. And so maybe my curiosity hadn't peaked. Maybe I didn't realize how cool of a miracle this whole process is. I think you always know that when your baby comes out, you're like, well, that's a miracle,
yeah,
right?
Totally.
But knowing the whole thing, y'all, like, maybe it's just I'm older now and I'm watching this whole experience, and every day, every change that's happening, every growth experiences, I'm sitting there with your parents and you, and we're watching this baby, our baby, on this big screen, and I'm just like, what? Like, how did that happen? And I know how it happened, but I just want to walk kind of all of us through this. And I promise you guys, there's a payoff to this. This is going somewhere, because this has really been motivating me a lot lately. And I've just been thinking more about this. And I recently read a little book and had a little section in it where it talked about kind of the process of conception. And I was like, really? Like, all that happened? I was blown away by that. So again, I promise it's going somewhere. But, let's just talk about our journeys.
Okay.
Like, all of us, how we got here. And
Every single one of us has experienced this.
every one of us. Like,
We weren't aware
what
of it.
happened was your father contributed 250 million sperms. That's a lot of 250 million of these sperms. And eventually, like in our situation, Jordyn, what happened is one of them made it to your egg, fertilized the egg, and that egg eventually became little Pepper, who now in this moment that we're sitting there in that room, I'm looking up and she's floating around and punching your stomach and like doing all these things. But it started with that. Mm-hmm. That 1 out of 250 million made it to that egg and fertilized that egg, and boom, there's a baby there. Now, here's probably the part of the journey that a lot of you don't know about. And this is what makes the fact that right now, as you listen to this, you are living and you're breathing and you have a heartbeat. It makes it utterly amazing. So here's part of the journey, okay? 90% of your father's contribution were dead within the first half hour.
Wow.
90% dead. And at first, your mother's body thought that your father's contribution were all intruders. It's true.
As it should.
It's true. Like, Jordyn, your immune system went on high alert because of how foreign my contribution appeared. And then it tried to kill my contribution with deadly acid.
Man, that's violent.
I know, ladies, but think about this. Your body has a system in place to identify possible threats to your health. And these systems, honestly, they're extremely efficient. Now, having survived near extermination, the sperm now have to travel a long freaking way. In fact, if you scaled sperm up to the size of human, right, do you know how far it would have to travel to reach its final destination?
I do not.
200 miles away. That's crazy. 200 miles away. Right away, it has to travel through the cervix, which apparently, I didn't know this, has endless channels that don't go anywhere. It's like climbing a ladder several miles high only to discover that the ladder isn't leaning against anything, at which point it is too late for them to turn around. I call it the cervix corn maze.
Oh my gosh.
That's what it's like. It's like the corn maze at the like fall parties that you have, you know, or not fall parties, but fall pumpkin
Festivals,
patches.
yeah.
Where you go down this path, all of a sudden you hit a dead end. Except for, in this case, you've traveled so far that there's no way out and you just die on the spot.
Okay.
That's essentially what's happening
so
inside
there's
the
one
cervix.
correct place. I guess maybe two.
Yeah, there's more than one correct place. Or no, I guess there is one correct place. It just has lots of different channels. Here's the point. 99% of your father's contribution did not make it past the cervix.
Okay.
That's how complicated it is, right?
Okay.
And so then after that, if you do the 1% that actually makes it past there, then there's the uterus. Now, I don't know how much you know about the uterus. We recently found out about your uterus.
Stop.
And no, in
I'm
the app.
so uncomfortable.
No, in the app. There's the app. What did it say at 25 weeks?
It said it was the size of a soccer ball.
Yeah, that your uterus was now the size of a soccer ball. Anyway, there's the uterus. Now, if we make the uterus come up to human scale, it's roughly about 2 miles long and about a half a mile wide. And that 1% of sperm that made it past the cervix now has to find one particular opening, which is only about 2 feet wide on the human scale. So remember, at this point, 99% of my contribution has not made it. And now of those remaining sperm, about 1,000 of them are dying with every heartbeat. And
wild.
listen to this. This is crazy. If things couldn't get more difficult, the sperm now comes face to face with what's called leukocytes. You ever heard of those?
No.
They're just white blood cells, but these white blood cells protect your body by hunting foreign invaders. So it's kind of cool. They're larger than sperm, and they move like in gangs, and essentially they hunt sperm down and crush them. Like they're not messing around. These are the body's soldiers.
Okay.
So if my contribution makes it past that, right, then it gets to the fallopian tube, which this is crazy. To gain entry into the fallopian tube, there's basically a swimming test. Do you remember, did you ever go to like church camp in the summer when you were a little kid? I don't know if your church camp did this, but mine, on the very first day of camp, you went to the pool and they did a swim test. So you're all standing on one end of the pool and the lifeguard blows the whistle, and then you have to swim across the pool to the other side. If you made it, what that meant was you could go into the deep end of the pool. If you didn't make it, then you were ostracized and you had to stay over in the small end of the pool.
Sad.
And there were at least 2 years in a row that I did not make it, and I had to stay in the small end. I was little. I went to camp as a little kid.
Bless your heart.
It was. I'm still really marked by that, but that's essentially. That's kind of what's happening here, all right? This is crazy, but your body has this biological chemical process that assessed my sperm's movement to see if it passed the swim test, to see if it measured up, to see if it was adequate, right? This happens all the time. And then get this, after all that travel, after the acid and the gangs and the exhausting distance, and against all odds, if the sperm actually makes it near your egg, now let's talk for a second about your eggs. All right, you started with about 1 million or 2 eggs. Like that's a lot.
When I was born.
Yep, but right now, in this stage of your life, you probably only have about 1,000 eggs.
Dang.
Yeah, and for Pepper to appear on that screen and be moving around inside your body like she is right now, like one of your eggs has to appear in that very narrow window during the month. And it somehow, this is crazy, sends a signal that helps the sperm swim that last little bit of distance by boosting it into what is known as the hypermodal state.
It boosts it?
It boosts it. I don't know.
It's like
exactly.
Mario Kart when you go into that, you hit one of those things and it goes...
Yeah. And I'm not a doctor here, right? So don't...
Clearly.
But... It's just amazing to me. You have all this stuff that can spray something with deadly acid and chop off its head. But this one little fella, and I know that sperm doesn't have a gender because they're cells, but I like to call them little fellas because it's like that that one last little fella that survives, that endures, that just keeps going. Like, again, over 200 million of his buddies have been annihilated. Yet this one, it keeps going. And then your egg somehow senses or becomes aware, knows that he's getting close, right? And at this point, your system no longer treats him as a foreign invader. You know, it was trying to kill him not that long ago, but now it senses, wow, there's something different about this little guy. In fact, I'm going to help this one out, right? I'm going to show this one a little bit of mercy, and I'm going to kind of guide him to get him to where he needs to be, which is at the egg. Now, what is crazy to me is if that little fella, if that sperm makes it to the egg, and then at conception it's a male, that will not be the last time that male needed some direction and help from a female.
Truth.
Right?
Amen. We can end the podcast right there.
But I just love this one little fella that didn't get confused, that didn't get lost, that didn't just get flat out exhausted or sprayed with deadly acid or crushed by your body's soldiers. That one, your body actually helps him finish the journey. It's kind of like this little fella is special, and it's guided to the egg, and that sperm and that egg get together, and boom. That's how Pepper was made. That's how I was made. That's how you were made. That's how everyone listening to this podcast was made. Like, and here's the deal, right? Like, this is about Pepper, but it's not really about Pepper. This is about all of us. This is about every one of us that's listening to this right now. Your very conception came out of struggle. Yeah. Statistically speaking, we're all doomed from the start. The odds were against you. But here you are. And I just got to believe that's not by accident. And furthermore, some of you right now are listening to this, and you got a big dream, don't you? I mean, like, maybe you've been in the process of pursuing a dream for a while, and that road has been a lot longer and a lot steeper than you ever imagined. Maybe this is a relational dream, and right now you're listening to this, and more than anything in the world, you just want to get married. Maybe more than anything in the world, you just want to get pregnant. We talk to people all the time that are struggling right now that have a dream to be parents, and it's just not happening, and it's such a struggle, isn't it?
Yeah. I kind of wanted to bring that up in general if you didn't, because I think it's super important to acknowledge that it's not that like, obviously there's this arduous battle for the sperm, right?
Yeah.
We keep talking about that, but I also want to be sensitive to know that, like, honestly, hearing that is overwhelming. It's overwhelming even being pregnant and thinking, how could that ever happen? And I can't imagine. It's probably super overwhelming to hear that if you're struggling to get pregnant. So hear our hearts in this. This is not to make this sound impossible or crazy. It's just to show you that you have overcome already, and that you can still overcome, but that I know how, to put it frankly, how much infertility sucks. I have not experienced that personally, but I have a ton of friends and family who have. So I just wanted to call that out, and I hope you don't hear that insensitively in us and talking through this, because that can feel super overwhelming to hear that story. But our heart is to actually echo the overcoming power that we all have in us. So
yeah, and that's just a real struggle. Some of you are in the midst of you have a dream that your marriage was going to last forever, and right now you're in just a battle of your life to kind of keep your marriage together, and maybe it doesn't look good. Maybe it's a career dream, and you got some big goals in that area. And maybe for you, you want that promotion at that job, right? You need that raise. You want to start that new company, but things just aren't falling into place. It's like this battle, and you feel like the odds are against you. Maybe it's a health dream, and right now you're like fighting like hell to just lose some weight. Or maybe for you, it's cancer, and you're just like trying to make it through to your next chemo visit, or you're trying to survive to the next surgery, but you got some kind of big dream, right? And it doesn't seem likely. You feel like the odds are up against you. You feel like, this isn't going to happen. And you feel like you're on this journey that has tons of dead ends. Maybe you feel like you've been climbing all these ladders that are 2 miles high to only get up there to feel as if the ladder wasn't leaning up against anything. Does that sound familiar at all? Right? Like, you feel like there's all these forces in the world. Maybe these are people, maybe these are events or circumstances that are coming against you, trying to keep you from doing what it is that you want to do. Like, what I want to encourage you to do today is just take a big, deep breath. Because you've been here before, right? You've been here before. The struggle is nothing new. Like, from the very beginning of your conception, the odds were stacked against you, right? From the get-go. And yet you're here. I mean, have you ever stopped to wonder why stories of overcoming the odds inspire so much, Jordyn? I mean, they do. We're drawn to those stories, to those movies. It's David and Goliath in the Bible. On the big screen, it's Rocky, it's Rudy, it's Hoosiers, it's Remember the Titans, it's the Karate Kid. Why are we so drawn to those stories? because we see a little bit of ourselves in those stories. We remember that truth. Overcoming insurmountable odds is baked into every creation story.
Yeah.
It's built into the very fabric of our existence. All right, so here's what I want you to do. You can do this even when you're in a car, right? All you got to do is take like one hand off the steering wheel, not both. I want you to take one hand and put it over your heart. Go ahead, do it over your heart.
Okay.
And just feel that beat. Let that be a reminder to you. Your heart beat, by the way, for the first time about 3 weeks after your father's contribution, fought like mad crazy to make it to that egg, and it has never stopped since. Every single time your heart beats, it should be a reminder to you that you had to overcome to even make it to where you are today. It was a flat out miracle. Like, can we all agree on that? Like, people always want to debate whether or not they're miracles. Listen, of course there's miracles. Your very existence is a miracle. And why in the world will we ever think that first miracle that began in those first, like, minutes of your conception, that would be the first and only miracle in the context of your life? Of course there's miracles. You're alive. You've still got fight. Overcoming odds is just what you do. And so I think there's this tendency for all of us when we get in these situations in our life where we feel like we need a miracle. We get in these situations in our life where we have so much to overcome and we feel like everybody's betting against us and the odds are almost insurmountable. It's so easy to think that we've never been here before. It's so easy to feel like, like there's just no way this is going to happen. And I get that, right? And let's be honest, there's some things in life that don't happen that we want to happen. But the reality is you were born in the midst. You were born out of struggle.
Yeah.
You were. You're 1 in 250 million.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You are. I mean, that's just crazy. And I think the more that we can remember that, what is most true about our stories is that we're overcomers. Every single one of us.
Yeah.
You've beat the odds before. You can beat them again. There's something that probably feels really familiar about this to you, not only because in your adult life you've already faced so many situations where the odds were against you, but this has been happening since your conception. And when you begin to understand how it is you got here, it should change the way you live while you're here.
Yeah. It's a really it's a crazy story, right? Of conception and I didn't know a lot of those details, to be honest with you. But just it's wild to me to think that that's how we started.
Yep.
There could be another way. Like, we could have been designed in a different way where it was just like super easy and A plus B equals C. But yeah, it's really wild to think we were designed in such a way where we did overcome the very first time.
Yeah.
And I think just thinking through that and thinking through like my life and things that have overcome and things that are yet to happen that I know are going to be challenges. It's really kind of motivating and cool to think like that's just kind of how we all started, that's really cool.
I cannot wait. I think about this moment all the time. In a couple months now, holding this little baby girl and being able to tell her the story of, do you know how you got here? Do you know everything that,
She's going to come out of the womb and be like, do you know all these things?
Yeah.
Science lesson.
No, I just want to say, Pepper, or whatever your name's going to be, like, you're an overcomer and you're going to fight through a lot of things and a lot of struggles in your life, and the odds will be against you time after time after time. But I tell my boys this all the time, you've got what it takes.
Yeah.
You got what it takes. You're an overcomer. The odds were stacked against you from the get-go, and yet here you are.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a good thing to echo. Like, I've got what it takes.
Yep.
All of you've got what it takes. I think that's really good.
Yeah, I believe that. I really do believe that. Whatever your struggle might be, whatever it is that challenge lies ahead of you, let's remember, first of all, that miracles have been a part of our entire creation story. And they're not going to stop. And overcoming odds have been a part of your story. And you can do this. I really believe that.
Yeah, that's good. And we all learned a lot of things today, anatomically.
There you go.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to get here.
No, you don't. You have no idea. But, hey, we say part of our line is we remind you of the joy of life, and we remind you of the love of God, and we remind you of the possibilities that lie ahead.
That's true.
And man, when you're 1 in 250 million, you got a lot of possibilities that lie ahead. And I think I hope this has been encouraging. And maybe you're not going through a tough time, but you know somebody who is going through a tough time, who's in the midst of a struggle, who feels like the odds are up against them. Just share this with them. Maybe, hopefully, this will be a real encouragement to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff.
Yep. So as always, until we talk next time, may the Lord bless you and protect you. May He smile on you and be gracious to you. May He show you His favor and give you His peace.